Satnam and welcome. I'm Parm Dave, and this is Yogic Living. As you can see, we're on the mountain again today. I wanted to take this opportunity because a lot of people have been asking me, well, how do you tie a turban? So I want to take this opportunity to show you. That's why I have my hair down. So, first of all, why do we wear a turban as a Kundalini yoga or Kundalini yogi or as a Sikh? Now, a lot of traditional Sikhs they kind of forgotten this information, and it wasn't really put out there initially. So us as Kundalini yogis, we kind of kept that as our tradition, and so that way we know exactly why we wear a turban. Versus, just like, oh, well, because Guru Gobind Singh said so. Yeah, Guru Gobind Singh did say that, but there was a reason Guru Gobind Singh told us to wear a turban and to wear our hair tied the way we do and everything. And so, um, one of the main reasons. Okay, so as a Sikh or as a yogi as well, we grow our hair and we don't cut any of our hair. And the reason why we do that, well, for one thing, as a male, we have one moon center. As a female, they have moon centers. They have 11 moon centers, like all over the place. Um, but as a male, we only have one because we're more connected to the sun than the moon. But the moon is our emotional side, so our moon center reflects our emotions. And so our moon center is right here in our chin. And as a male, we grow a beard to cover that, to balance that, so that we're not so emotional and commotional. You'll find as a male, if you let your facial hair grow and to cover that area, that you'll be less emotional. And I grew up American, so I wasn't totally, my face wasn't totally shaved, but I mean, I did trim it and stuff and make it look, all nice and pretty, or, what I thought, was nice and pretty at the time. Changed quite a bit since then, but that's another story altogether. So I had everything nice and trimmed and, make it look real nice. I had like a mustache and a goatee. I was tired because in my uh, my dad actually had, if he'd want to, go clean shaven, he actually has to shave like 2 or 3 times a day to look, kind of, nice. Otherwise, he has a 5 o'clock shadow. And so our facial hair, and I inherited that from my dad, so our facial hair grows really fast. Especially for me, it was just like this area. So I'm like, well, why am I fighting this? All right, I'll have it there, and that way I don't have to mess with it every day, to look nice. And so I had it, somewhat, nice and trimmed and things like that. And I had like um, one of those electric shaver things, and I put like the first guard on, and that's how I did my beard and my mustache. And but even that, was limited to me. I was, emotional. I didn't realize it, of course, at the time. But then I got into yoga and found out about that. And I'm like, okay, well, let's just let it all grow and things, and um, see what happens. So a little while later, after I did that, I was going to apply for a job and went for an interview. And my friend was like, just trim your beard. It doesn't really matter. Just trim your beard. And I'm like, I was hesitant. I didn't want to, but I went ahead and did it, so I could look nice for the interview. or whatever. And it turns out I didn't even get the interview anyways, and I did trim, so I had it trimmed all up. I mean, it wasn't, I didn't trim it shorter, but I just, made it look neater, and less, like crazy like it is right now. Like, probably you're thinking, this is a mountain man. I am. Well, so I trimmed it all up. But I noticed, like, as soon as I did that, I felt like, more emotional, and I was more nervous than, I would have been if I would have just left my beard alone. And so there is something to that. So, and when you see when I put up my hair, that I put it in a bun, basically, right here. And as a male, that's where our sun center is. And our hair acts like our antenna. So if we have this all bundled up together, then we're focusing our antenna right where we get our energy. And it helps to align our energy better and to connect us better with our higher self or God or the universe or whatever you want to say. And as a female, yours is more in the center of your head, so yours is more right here. And the reason why that is because as a male and a female, we're different. We're different energetically. Our bodies are slightly different in some ways, obviously. So when I just say male and female, that's all I mean. That's the vehicle your soul is in right now, a male or female car. So it's not so much a matter of sex. It's just a matter of that's what kind of body you're in. So uh, let's get more into it here. All right. So first thing we want to do is comb out our hair. So we make sure it's all nice and combed, and then what I do is just flip it right up, and just comb it out. And we're gonna grab it, and I grab it generally where I'm going to put it at. I think that's probably the best way to do it. That gathers it all up right there. And then I just comb it all out, so I can get, because all my hair isn't the same length. I don't think anybody's hair grows all at the same length, and if you let your hair grow, it'll stop at a certain point. So mine is probably already stopped because it's been since 2012 since I've cut my hair. So at least on the top of my head. Like I said, I did kind of trim up one time for an interview. So then you just curl this around, and then once you get it like that, then it's just a simple way of putting a bun in there. And then you take one of these little hair tie things and go around, put it there. And we refer to this as a rishi knot. So as a male, again, we put our rishi knot towards the top of the head, or whatever you want to say. And as a female, you put it more towards the middle. And we put, as a Sikh and as a yogi, we put a comb under that. And the reason why we do that is it helps to ground us, helps keep us connected. Also, another reason is it's a symbol. There's a symbology behind it as well. And the symbology behind the comb is that to distinguish us between the ascetics in the woods that just pray all day and don't take care of their bodies, don't take care of a home or anything like that. To distinguish them between them and us, because we still pray and we still are connected to God, but we make the world go round. We have houses, we have jobs, we stimulate the economy. We're not just beggars. And so that distinguishes between us and them. And so now we're going to get into the actual turban tying. And so there's a lot of different ways you can tie your turban. I like this way because it has a nice little V up here, and that helps. That again helps to direct the energy. Um, but Param Dave, why do we wear a turban? Great question. Great question. So the answer to that is why we wear a turban is to keep our energy, to keep us to ourselves. Is the short answer. It helps to really contain your energy, and I didn't realize that at first when I first started wearing a turban. I was just like, okay, because like my teacher always was saying, like, it's not a requirement to wear a turban, and it's not. If you don't want to wear a turban, that's fine. And as a yogi, you don't have to wear a turban, but it does help to it does change it energetically. And my teacher was always saying, now, if you do start to get headaches and you do start to feel like this is too powerful, and you get headaches, you should wear something that covers your head, because that's the reason, because the energy is too powerful and you need that head covering there to help filter things out, especially the negative things. And but when I started wearing a turban, I noticed for me it was a major difference, because I'm a very strong empath. Now, I don't know if you know what that is. So, when you're an empath, that means you can feel other people's emotions. And it's really easy to get them confused with your own. So, for instance, if I was around somebody who was, for whatever reason, immensely attracted to me, I would get confused, and I would think that that emotion was coming from me. Well, it turns out, sometimes, not all the time, that those emotions were all from that person and they weren't coming from me. So it was very hard for me in life to determine, okay, well, is this something I'm feeling, or is this something that, I'm feeling from somebody else, or, where does all this come in at? But when I started wearing a turban on my head, the change was night and day. I was working in cable at the time. And, I was in a lot of different people's houses, fixing their internet and, hooking up TVs and telephones and things like that. So, like the first day I wore one, I went into this people's houses, and like this girl like answered the door. And she was, probably like in her early 20s. I'd say probably like 24, 25 at the most, you know, maybe even younger. And, her parents weren't there, or whatever, and she was like, yeah, the internet's up here, and, and as the place where the internet comes in is always like, or a lot of times it's always in like the odd places like a closet or something like that. And so theirs happened to come into a closet upstairs in the master bedroom. And so I was up there looking at things, and like, I noticed like this girl's like, okay, well, here's the thing, and she's, standing right there, like kind of like hovering over me or whatever, and she like puts one of her legs up on this ottoman, and she's wearing shorts, and I'm like, just like, okay, I'm like, why is she putting her leg up on the ottoman? And I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of weird, So I'm like, all right, well, what's going on here? So I'm looking, I'm not even like really like thinking about anything, and then I'm like, all of a sudden I kind of get this like this like feeling that I can distinguish that it's actually not mine, but it's just kind of like this kind of like this horniness feeling, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not attracted to this girl in any way. I'm like, where does this horniness come from? I'm like, oh, it's coming from her. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I was very nice and professional to her, but I wasn't any more than that to her. So um, that just kind of showed me how much this um, really affected me, and I was pleasantly surprised for that. And I was like, because it never had happened to me before. It was so hard for me to distinguish my emotions from other people's. So after that, I was hooked. So I'm not sure that you're gonna have the same effects that I will, but I'm just sharing my experience. So, and like I said, I was taught this, through yoga, and like everybody, uh, like the Sikhs will have a different way to tie their turban, and and everybody has a different way to do it. So, um, don't feel like there's just one method, but this is just the way. This is just what I do. So I go by sticking it. I stick the tail in my mouth, and then I wrap it around my head in this manner. And the important part is to kind of get this eyebrow and kind of like almost like cut it. Kind of like put the piece of fabric over there, because that'll help to get that nice V where I want it. And so, all right, so I'm just going to get in and show you here. And you see how I'm getting this nice little angle here? That's what I mean by cutting the eyebrow. So I'm getting that to where I want it, so it gives me a nice V there. And then you pet the doggy, because she finally figured out that I'm down here on her level, and so now she's going to kiss me. Was it kisses? Will you give me kisses? Okay, that's enough. That's enough. No, that's enough. Okay, good girl. So then we just tuck this back in over here. And you find different people will tuck it in different places. I've seen like pictures of Yogi Bhajan, and like his turban just happens to end like right here. And so that's where he tucks his in at. But, like, I guess that I don't have a long enough turban for that. So, I mean, it is what it is. So I don't worry too much about where I tuck it. I'm just, getting it tucked in at the right place. And so now, what we're going to do then is see this end right here. We're going to untuck that and use that to cover the top of our head. And just tuck that in like that. There you go. And if you got one of these halos, you just put it on like this, and you use this tail back here to tuck it over there, so it stays somewhat in place. Well, that's tying a turban. That's my tutorial on tying a turban. So that's all I have to show for you today. So I will say Sat Nam. And if you want to learn more about my journey, my spiritual journey, you can. I wrote a book, and it's called "Why Wear This Thing on My Head." And it's how I got started down this crazy path that some people call Kundalini yoga. And I thank you for watching this video. If you like it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to be notified next time I upload one of these things, hit that bell icon down there. And, alright, Satnam, Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.